go. Welcome to PDX Black Rose Podcast, where we discuss critical issues impacting Rose City here in Portland, Oregon, and explore pathways to a brighter future. I'm Alex Gebreab, small business navigator at the Seoul District Business Association. With me today is our insightful program director, Fawn Aberson, and our executive director, John Washington.
Hey, man. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Today we have a crucial conversation with Commissioner Mingus Mapps, who is running for mayor of Portland.
Hello. Welcome, Commissioner Mingus Mapps.
Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here today. You guys have a beautiful studio.
Thank you very much.
So, Commissioner Mapps is currently serving in his fourth year as Portland City Council. You oversee public works, which includes the Bureau of Transportation, the Water Bureau, the Bureau of Environmental Services, and so he's here today to discuss.
Too.
Oh yeah, PBOT. Okay, that's right. And you're here to discuss your bold vision for making Portland the best-run city in the United States and addressing the city's most pressing challenges. That's quite a heavy lift, considering the condition of Portland.
I'm trying to tell you. So, but Commissioner Mapps, welcome. So, let's dive into this, okay? Thank you for joining us, by the way. So, your track record.
Yep.
Your vision for Portland, your plans for addressing our city's economic, social, and infrastructural issues. And boy, we got some issues, supposedly. Talk to me. What is your plans for, for diving into something?
Well, thank you. First, let me start off by thanking you so much for having me here today, especially to talk about this important question, who's going to be the next mayor of Portland?
Yeah.
As you mentioned, first, I feel like I should introduce myself, especially for folks who haven't
tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm a longtime Portlander. Although I wasn't born here, I've had family here for my whole life, so I've been coming up here since I was about 2 years old. I can remember when Portland was just a timber town, and we have evolved into a tourism destination and tech hub. In addition to that, I can remember when it felt like I was the only person of color in this town, and today we have evolved into a much more diverse and vibrant community. One of the reasons why I'm still in Portland and I'm raising my kids in Portland is that I truly believe that Portland is one of the best cities in North America. It's beautiful. Our people are kind, creative. They're connected. Obviously, the last couple of years have been this incredible challenge between homelessness and drug addiction and the rise in crime. We see businesses fleeing the city, frankly, for the first time in about 50 years, and probably only for the second time since the state has been founded. This is a remarkable pivot moment. And on top of all of that, we face some challenges and some opportunities. One of the unique things about this moment is that the people of Portland has decided to change our city charter. So starting in 2025, we are going to have a brand new government. Literally for the past 100 years, we've been doing business a certain way. Starting in about 6 months, you're going to see City Hall literally renovated from top to bottom. And if you walk into City Hall right now, you will notice it's literally being renovated top to bottom.
We can empathize with that.
This episode of Black Beat Podcast is brought to you in part by the University of Oregon, where mighty means excelling both in the field and on the field. Be mighty, be Oregon.
And that's, so this is the fact that we literally have folks with hammers redesigning that building is a physical manifestation of how profoundly things are going to change. So in our next council, we're going to move from a 4-person council to a 12-person council.
Yep.
And, we'll have more voices at the table. That's good. And those folks are going to largely focus on policy. I'll tell you right now, I sit under the old form. We got 4 members of council and a mayor. Really, in our current system, everybody on council is essentially a mini mayor. So you said I'm the commissioner in charge of infrastructure, and it is really true. I'm the person where the buck stops on PBOT, water, environmental services. Frankly, the mayor can't really tell me what to do there, but although we cooperate and collaborate, and sometimes, frankly, some of the challenges the city has faced over time is the fact that different city commissioners didn't work together that well. So you had 5 different mayors pulling in 5 different directions. That's all going to change.
So is it going to be 12 new mayors now?
No, that's one of the, I think, the healthy things, although this is one, I love running my bureaus day to day, and I truly do run those bureaus day to day. In the future, city commissioners will not have responsibility for the day-to-day operations of city bureaus. Instead, they're going to focus just on broad policy questions. The mayor and a new city administrator are going to be responsible for delivering basic services to the people of Portland. I got to tell you, that's one of the reasons why I'm running for mayor as opposed to a member of running for a seat in council. Frankly, it would be much easier to run for a seat in council, because we're moving to district-based elections and whatnot. On the other hand, the things that really motivate me, the things that I think we really need to get better at as a city is delivering basic services. And I'll tell you, there are 3 things I want to accomplish when I'm mayor. Number 1, we got to get better on public safety. Number 2, we got to get better on houselessness. And number 3, we got to get better at promoting economic development in the city. We got to make Portland a great place to start and grow a business again. I think that was our secret sauce for a long, long time. We're going to be much better equipped to accomplish that in our new form of government, especially if we elect the right mayor, partly because the mayor will have, instead of just being in charge of the police bureau and the finance bureaus, he or she will be in charge of all 24 bureaus. You can tell them to work together, which is something which, frankly, we can't do today. Often I have constituents who come up to me and say, hey, Commissioner, I'm really frustrated about something which is happening in let's say Prosper Portland. But as the commissioner in charge of infrastructure, I don't have a lot of influence over Prosper Portland beyond sort of helping you navigate the system. That will be very different. When we have a mayor. If you have a problem with Prosper Portland or the Water Bureau or PBOT, the right place to go is going to be the mayor or the city administrator. That's going to make us much more efficient. More central. I think about it. I mean, I see you folks are doing some work in your building now. I don't know if you had to pull any permits for this, but if you've ever had to pull a permit in the city of Portland, you probably have to go to 7 different offices who all have different systems and who don't talk to each other. In the future, we're going to consolidate that. We're going to coordinate that. So we're going to move much more efficiently. And, if you think about something that we really care about, like, let's say livability. No, let's pick the big ones. Crime. Crime is a concern of public safety, but you also have to, you have to get the cops pulling in one direction. You also have to get our violence prevention programs pulling in the same direction. You kind of want things for kids to do, for example. So it'd be great if parks and recreational opportunities were all in tune. Right now, those 3 responsibilities that I just talked about are divided across 3 different commissioners. I think we can do much better if we have a mayor with a vision for how to turn our 24 different bureaus into 24 coordinated bureaus. So that's what I'm excited about. It's a ton of work.
Hey, Commissioner, so man, I'll tell you, breathe now. I need you to breathe.
I know. All right, I'll try.
You dropped the whole lot
that's
out
everyone
there
told. That's what I get reminded of all the time. I'll try to slow down.
That's all right.
I'm switching to water instead of coffee.
That's okay. There you go. You're just a jock's nightmare. That's all. No, but I think that I love the way you're able to organize this stuff. So let's say I'm a lay person.
Yeah.
And I'm in the city. I live here, and I'm confused already by what's going on downtown. Yeah. So now that you got this going from 4 to 12, as a layperson, can you help me understand what does that mean to the governance, to us, to the people? Just make it simple for me, will you please?
Sure. One of the, right now everyone on council represents the entire city. We don't run in districts in the future. In fact, this next election, we've divided the city up into 4 different quadrants. So you will have each quadrant will be represented by a handful of members of council. So one of the great things that you'll do is you'll be able to actually go to your elected representative on council who represents your neighborhood. It'll probably be someone because they literally have to live in the district. Right. That's going to be incredibly powerful. And they'll also know you. They'll know the challenges that come, just right outside the door at MLK Boulevard. I think it'll also, a thing that I'm kind of excited about and I think will be healthy is those folks, they won't be responsible for running bureaus, but I suspect they will be very responsive to constituent concerns. So if you're looking for an advocate in City Hall, I think our next commissioners will actually be a good person to
City
talk to.
advocates.
If you like need a crosswalk, you need to kind of fix a broken light. If the corner store has been robbed 4 times in the last 5 weeks, you're going to have an elected official on council who can actually help you problem solve around that. And I think that's going to be real healthy.
Well, look, okay, so I like that idea of having a more centralized government in terms of the power that the mayor is going to have, because I think it'll be more of a coordinated effort in whatever problems we're working on. But my thing is, when it comes to these new format in regards to the commissioners will they actually have any decision-making power, or it just sounds like they're just going to be...
Well, they will have control over basically policy and budgets. So in some ways, like if you think about how Oregon state legislature works or how Congress works, individual members of Congress don't run the Defense Department or the Forest Department, but they do pass broad policies around, how you manage forest or whatnot. So that'll be kind of how it works. The vision with charter reform, and this is passed by the people of Portland. So this is the direction that, a majority of Portlanders wanted to go. They wanted to take commissioners out of the nitty gritty of trying to run bureaucracies and kind of focus in on broad policy questions. So, setting our goals around climate change, setting our budgets are the kinds of things that I expect the city commissioners to focus on in the future. And then I think they'll also, a huge part of what they will do, I suspect, is helping problem solve within different districts. And that'll be, I think, very important.
I think there is some concern, though, about this, although it was overwhelmingly approved. Or was it overwhelmingly approved? Was it close?
It was like 55%.
55. Okay, I guess that's not overwhelming, but it's a cost, right?
Yeah.
We've heard costs everywhere from $5 million to $45 million.
Oh, yeah.
So...
completely fair concerns. The costs that are associated with this transition, first, you have a lot more politicians at the table. So we literally have to rebuild City Hall in order to fit everybody in.
Yeah.
All those people get staff. We're also talking about hiring city administrators.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and this is my belief. I think in the medium to long term, we'll become more efficient and we'll spend dollars more. Our dollars will stretch further. But in the short term, and this is just true, and it's incredibly frustrating to me because I have to govern in this moment. It's more expensive because in 6 months we have to hire a city administrator. In 6 months, we have to start paying 12 city commissioners, and we're going to hire deputy city administrators too. And these city commissioners that we're talking about, not only will they have offices downtown, we're hearing that they want to have offices out in the neighborhood. So the costs that are associated with this are significant, and this is especially tough because, frankly, this year is a tough budget year, and everything I know suggests that next year is going to be a tough budget year.
That's right, and that's right. And so, for the ground troops, we know that time is the luxury of the fully resourced, right? So as much as I think that we can all agree that, maybe in a couple of years this will smooth out, what's the plan while everybody's figuring it out? Like, how will you keep some kind of
gestation? What do you anticipate
emergency
as a gestation?
implementation?
Is it 24 months, do you think? Is it 12 months?
But even beyond the gestation, right? So I think it is going to be a couple of years, right?
I think that's
and
fair.
because of the budget and figuring that out. But we're in this state of emergency now in so many
right.
things.
What's the price to the people in the community? And
what's the plan during that transition?
Sure. And this is frankly one of the reasons why I'm shifting my energies from council to the mayor's office, because my heart and my brain is deeply focused on delivering services to the people of Portland and making sure that we get this right. And I'll tell you, we're almost put together a budget for this next fiscal year, which for the city runs from July 1st to June 30th. I feel pretty good about this budget. We've made a lot of choices that were tough, but for the most part, what we've managed to do is to keep our focus in on delivering services, making sure sure, for example, that we're getting out and filling potholes, making sure that we can hire police, making sure that we can have enough firefighters out there, starting to make progress on our maintenance backlogs at our parks. Something which I hear from the approximately 80 people running for city council now is we didn't put enough. I'm not even joking. That's what it is.
Right.
The people who are running for council saying, hey, you didn't, where are our district offices? You haven't, set those up yet. And frankly, I won't lie to you, we've underfunded that. Folks who are running for office, we have campaign financing or public financing for us, people running for office. There's not we had the system that's been in place for a while. It works one way when you have people running for 5 office. Basically you have 5 seats to fill. Right now we go to 13 seats to fill. Everyone running for office says, hey, you need to put, another $4 or $5 million in that pot of money that goes out to people running for office. And I just can't do it. The choice right there is between literally hiring, 4 or 5 firefighters, providing just basic, fully funding. It's literally the difference between, fully funding, let's put it this way, campaign finance stuff versus fully funding Portland street response is about the same, $5 million. Wow. Given that choice, we're going lean in the transition and really focusing in on services. Frankly, that's where my head is at. That's where my heart is at. I think one of the things that we will, one of the struggles you'll see the next mayor and council, frankly, fight about is the difference between how much do we spend on services and how much we spend on administration.
Well, so let's ask me this question about the budget.
Will I ask you the question?
I sure will.
Ask me a question and I'll see if I can answer.
All right.
Okay. The budget, where does the city get most of its funding?
Oh, most of our funding comes from property taxes. So we have the general fund, that's essentially property taxes. We have a handful of bureaus. Frankly, for the most part, they're my bureaus: water, environmental services, and PBOT, which are funded by essentially fees. So you have your water bill. That's how we fund the water bureau. That's how we fund environmental services. PBOT, on the other hand, we fund through our local gas tax, which Portlanders, in their wisdom, renewed just last week, I believe it was. And we also fund PBOT with parking meter revenues. Now, I want to put a little bit of a pitch and warning here because this is one of the crises our next mayor is going to have to come to terms with. We all know that cars are, we fund our roads through gas taxes and parking meter revenues. On the other hand, we all know that cars are becoming more energy efficient. In fact, there are plenty of cars out there that don't use any gas at all. Yeah. Lots of people are starting to work from home now, so they're not plugging our parking meters. So we have a real funding crisis in terms of how we figure out how to maintain
the shift.
The
shift, right.
And it's about 10, if you think about it, I think the goal is to stop selling new gas-powered cars in the state of Oregon in the next 15 years. So
it's crazy, isn't it? It's in the requirement.
Yeah, I got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they don't have their driver's licenses yet, but by the time they buy their first cars on their own, it's not going to be the old sort of gas-powered car that I got 30 years ago, or however longer than 30 years ago at this point. But so it is a real transition in the city. There's a lot of creative work that needs to be done, but I'll tell you, I think it's leading to a better place.
So let's talk about that.
A little bit, because there's obviously, when we think about shift, right?
Yep.
We're looking at the shift in government, right? And then, of course, the issues that are topics that are, that are going on in our district, especially around public safety and housing and these issues, right? So on one hand, you have these issues where we're investing in public safety. And what does the whole issue around public safety look like, Commissioner? What's that primary? Because we've seen that go two ways. Public safety usually meant law enforcement in reference to the black community, black males, gangs, blah, blah, blah. It's that issue. But on the next side of it, when we're looking at Portland, we're looking at public safety in housing. We're looking at public safety around this graffiti stuff all over the place. I mean, so how is that gelling? I mean, how do you pulling that together, man?
It's a great question, and I'll tell you, just as we were talking about transportation, which is going through a real transition, I think the public safety space is also going through a real transition. So in my time on council, for example, we've stood up a Portland Street Response. It went from a little pilot program out at Lentz, now it's citywide. It would be, frankly, we got to continue to staff that up. One of the visions behind that is to move away from calling cops to, frankly, deal with mental health crises, to having kind of trained professionals who are have the real tools to manage folks who are going through a mental health crisis. So you're going to see a lot of that. Frankly, one of the things that I'd like to do is we have a PS3 program, which are basically unarmed.
Is that a video game?
I wish I know it sounds like an old school video console. It's actually our unarmed. We actually have some police officers who are unarmed, which are frankly great. They're cheaper to hire. They're quicker to hire. They can do a lot of the things that cops can do.
I've seen them out.
Yeah, they're great. Frankly, if your car gets stolen, frankly, and you get it back, and probably if your car gets stolen, we get most of those back eventually. The person will kind of coordinate and help you kind of get your car back and whatnot. Tend to be PS3s. Frankly, I think that we could use them a lot more often. So that is very exciting. Since I've been on council, and frankly, I pushed hard for this. We've gotten through the debate whether or not we have body cameras on the shoulders of police officers. I've always believed that we should. I was very controversial. I fought for it. We got a pilot program up. The pilot went great. Now we're ramping that up citywide. That's going to be incredibly helpful for accountability. And then I'll tell you the other piece that I think is incredibly important is we have to recognize that, frankly, the size of our police department is too small. You'd expect a city of our size to have about 1,200 police officers. We have about 800. If you remember when I came into council 4 years ago.
The entire city of Portland, we only have 800 police officers.
Oh, yeah. That's the entire force. So people don't work 7 days a week. They don't work 24 hours a day. So there are hours of the day, and we're talking today on I think a Thursday during the day. But if you go out to probably East Portland, east of 82nd, there might just be one or two police cars that are assigned to that entire, that entire space. And that explains why, when you call 911, it takes, number one, it takes a long time for a cop to show up, and frankly, if it's not a matter of life and death, a cop might not show up at all. But we can get there if we grow the size of our police department. Frankly, when I came in 3.5 years ago, we were losing cops in droves. Frankly, that was partly a product of the rhetoric that was coming out of City Hall. Now, I also get, I'm a person of color, and I'm a dad of a 13-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy who look like me. Accountability is incredibly important. It's not acceptable to me as a Portlander or as your next mayor to have the cops treat people of color unfairly. On the other hand, and unfortunately I've had to do this, like every other Portlander has had to do this, if you need to call 911 because you need a cop, I want to make sure that a cop can get to you quick.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the national politics that we're hearing. Like this morning I was listening to, which I very rarely listen to, Fox.
Oh gosh.
But
your heart must be stronger than mine.
But they actually had the nerve to mention Portland.
Oh my. Okay.
As one of those cities who used to legalize everything is now looking to recriminalize some things, and they actually saw that as a bonus or a plus. So when you're looking, but here's my question, and I'm just trying to leverage this. I have a clinical background, right? So, and my thoughts are, when we're looking at some of the targeted reality factors that the city is dealing with around public safety, housing, those types of things, look at those models as a dependency model, right? In other words, we're constantly addressing the social woes of the condition of our decisions that we've made previously. We're coming back. But now, this question I continue to ask a lot of the political people is the American dream dead? in terms of what that used to look like around small business, for example, right? So we're constantly looking at these dependency models, but you just went to told us that the biggest basis for revenue in the city is taxes on housing and properties, right? So that means people need to afford housing, right? Afford a house.
Homeownership specifically, right?
I agree.
You're not taxing affordable housing, are you?
It probably depends on the specific situation. Although I agree with you, the way, especially people of color, build wealth in the United States is through homeownership and education.
Right, but now when you're dealing with the issue, so what's then to get there? Usually, sometimes a 9-to-5 doesn't do that. Sometimes the American dream is to have independence in our society and be able to afford your own business and develop your own career, your own path, your dream, buy your home. But if small businesses are really being somehow affected in this maze in a negative and adverse way, I mean, because for the first time, as you know, the big box tenants, we can't seem to keep them. We don't have them in our neighborhoods anymore. You know that Nike has abandoned
store.
us in this in our community, which is really creating.
Walmart's are leaving.
6 million people used to come into our district a year ago. Now that is half of that, and their earmarks of where they're going is really fascinating. They're neither going to Fred Meyer's or going to the airport. You know, it's like so. The question I'm having is, what type of small business supports is the city moving toward? Are they looking at any kind of support for small business?
Not just support, but also investments. How are we attracting business? So both support and investments. What is the city doing? And who's doing it?
Well, let me tell you what we're doing now, and also let me tell you what I hope to do as your next mayor. You know, in terms of what we're doing now, for the most part, a lot of our support for small businesses are happening through Prosper Portland. Prosper Portland's been around for a long time. They have programs that are supposed to support minority businesses and small businesses. Indeed, one of the things that we just did in council within the last 2 weeks or so is to stand up a new office of small business.
Yeah, I seen that. It stood up, and it's now official, huh?
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's great news. But I think, especially for small business owners who have been around there, you know that is frankly too little, too late. And I will also share some hard truths with you. You know, I'm in a pretty good position to understand where Portland is economically and where we're likely to be for the next 2 years. And it's going to be a tough couple of years in the city of Portland. Part of that has to do with reputational damage. A lot of it, frankly, at this point, it has to do with reputational damage. However, you know, I think there are two strategies that I think I uniquely bring to the table to help small businesses and, frankly, BIPOC businesses over the short run. Number one is the city can get much better at contracting and doing business with small businesses. So we engage, especially BIPOC businesses, in the work of building the city. You know, the city is basically a $8 billion a year enterprise. And the degree to which those dollars are actually being driven towards small businesses who can help us fill potholes, plant trees, build housing. We've made more progress in the time I've been on council than I think the city has made ever, but frankly, there's a heck of a lot more work that we can do in that space too, especially around services, where frankly, I don't think the city, in fact, it's not even I know we haven't even really focused on trying to purchase and contract services with small businesses and with BIPOC businesses. I'm going to get better at that, and I'll tell you, as the infrastructure guy, one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be mayor, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the Seoul District and MLK is because major changes are happening all around us. I'll tell you, as your commissioner in charge of PBOT, I am deeply involved in helping get our new interstate bridge stood up. I'll tell you, that's probably a $7 billion project. And while I'm there, I am deeply committed to making sure that small businesses and BIPOC businesses are involved in the business of getting that important resiliency project built. That, you know, if it's $7 billion, let's say even just 10% of that goes to small businesses and BIPOC businesses, that's about $1 billion. Now, right close to us, we have the Rose Quarter project too. That is, let's take the Rose Quarter project and Albina Vision. $2 billion plus.
Right.
Let's just say we can. I'm deeply involved in both of those projects. I tell you, typically the city tries to make sure that about 20% of that work goes to BIPOC businesses, small businesses, new businesses, and whatnot. Again, so we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of new work coming into our new contracts being available for BIPOC businesses in this neighborhood.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Literally in the next, some of the stuff we're going to be breaking ground on, frankly, next year.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the river for the bridge next year, and in fact, I'll tell you, over at Peabody, we're going to start to do our work on the Rose Quarter project in 2025. Not only, and even if you aren't a contractor who helps build stuff, if you are you own a restaurant in the neighborhood, I got, we're going to have thousands of workers in this space needing goods, needing services, buying gas.
So you're going to unpack it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So there are, frankly, where I expect our next development opportunities to happen. It's going to be right here. When I'm your mayor, I'm going to make sure that BIPOC businesses in particular and small businesses in general have an opportunity to help us build the city of the future. And I tell you, that is going to be one of the most transformative developments for that has ever happened.
But Commissioner Mapps, so I got to jump in on a little bit on that, and that all sounds good. We got a couple $100 million. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of work probably over the next decade or so, right? And you say you're going to help make sure that we have contracting opportunities. But practically, what are you going to do to help us, right? Because right now, as far as the contracting piece, it's super confusing. It's a mess. There's not any communication between contracting departments, whether city, state, local, county, and stuff like that. There's not a system in place, and it's extremely difficult.
I totally hear you, and I'm your infrastructure guy, and I will tell you one of the things I have focused on for the past 3.5 years is to make our contracting system easier to navigate, at least in the infrastructure space. And I have directed my teams across all the bureaus to do the reforms and develop the relationships so that we're engaging with BIPOC communities. I'll tell you one great example is I'm out there currently building a new water filtration plant for the city, which will serve about 1 million folks. It's a very expensive project. It's about $2 billion. I will also tell you we have done an amazing job in terms of minority contracting there. Indeed, I believe that we have, on that project alone, we are investing more dollars and with BIPOC businesses that has ever happened in the state of Oregon. Literally, one of the places where I'm just so excited about Oregon in the short term, and Portland in particular in the short term, is our ability to enlist our BIPOC businesses in helping, build the city of the future. And this is not, these are shovel-ready projects. We're going to break ground on all of these in the next things. If you have the right mayor, I'll tell you, pulling off the filtration plant, pulling off this bridge, and pulling off the Rose Quarter ain't easy. There's a lot of roadblocks there, but I think I have been a great shepherd in getting these projects moving forward. And these projects, in my view, will not be a success if they don't include BIPOC businesses in getting the work done. And that's incredibly important because we both need this new infrastructure. And frankly, this is one of the ways we're going to build wealth, intergenerational wealth.
And on that, I just want to make sure that, I really strongly voice my opinion on that, because that's the conversation that we are having with our small businesses here, right? 38% of black-owned businesses in the state of Oregon are within 3 miles of MLK here.
Yeah.
A lot of that development that you're talking about is happening within MLK and then within 3 miles of here, right? One of the biggest revenue drivers in terms of small business is construction. Yeah. Right? That's where a lot of that contracting is going to be. A lot of these firms that come in there and are applying for this contracting, they have a nice office that specifically deals with contracting, getting that submitted. They got administrators and all that stuff, right? When we're getting our small businesses in here, they don't have all that. They don't have the fancy administrator and all that stuff. They're coming in here. We're trying to figure out who to connect them with. We're trying to figure out how to navigate it, right? We got to have the right person in place. We're not going to be able to get to everybody. You know what I mean? So, again, it's not a question, but I really want to emphasize that's a big cry that we've been getting from our small businesses.
Well, and let's just put a few numbers behind that, right?
Sure.
So, and let's keep it about business. So, you at that State of Portland business report that you had that ended up standing up this small business office, was 94% of the businesses in Multnomah County are small businesses, right? And we also know from the state, the department,
maybe 84, but go ahead.
It's the Department of Administrative Services did a disparity study, state disparity study, and of that, 1,080 executive offices were surveyed, right? And they had $3.2 billion to give out in procurement dollars over 4 years, right? And they didn't get that out. And that was not even all the executive offices, right? And then of that $3.2 billion, I think it was women were at like 15% availability, and they got like 8%, which is not great. And then it goes worse from there between Native Americans, Hispanics. And at the bottom of that rung was 0.1% actually was awarded to Black-owned firms. And the majority of that went to just a few firms, right? So signaling two things. There's not enough Black entrepreneurs in the pool right now, and they're not getting the contracts, right? So when Alex asked that question, we're not talking about the already resourced making sure that they're keeping what they want, although that's good. We're talking about a plan, right? Investing in developing the economic engine of our city. Can you speak specifically to what you will do to invest in the economic engine of our city?
I mean, before you answer that, I mean, it's kind of like weird because you left out some part of that fund. I mean, and that was even when you look at this last go round of Reimagine grants that came through Prosper Portland, this whole reality looked at. It was $5 million that was allotted from the cannabis funds.
The City of Portland cannabis tax.
Right. Yeah. And when you look at the amount of people who applied, it was over $100 million in ask, which is a reflection that somewhere along the line, the view of what the servicing of that demographic is smaller than they're understanding it to actually be the need is actually out there. So that's can you as a Fawn's original question,
an $8 billion budget, you know, $105 million seems like a drop in the bucket for people who are committed to hiring,
who could
and
fix
growing
the whole
revenue and paying taxes. So where's the focus?
Well, I'll tell you, my focus is, and I think I have a proven track record in this space. You know, I can't speak for every bureau in the city, but I can tell you how we're doing in the infrastructure space, water, BES, and PBOT. And frankly, if I have the privilege of managing all 24 plus bureaus, this is the lens I'll bring to everything the city does, which is to integrate small businesses and BIPOC businesses into the work of building the city. How have I done this in the context of working with BIPOC contractors in water, sewer, and PBOT? Well, I meet with our BIPOC contractors on a regular basis. I have a member of my staff who's specifically assigned to kind of troubleshoot in this space. I've made it clear to my bureau staff that it's our goal. You know, we have contracting goals for small businesses and BIPOC businesses, and I expect my bureaus to hit those goals, and you will see that we do hit those goals. You know, it really is a matter of political will and focus and follow through and communication. You know, frankly, in order to do this, I have to work with prime contractors who say, well, you know, this is challenging for this reason, and then I talk to minority contractors who say, you know, this contractor is not actually doing what they say they're going to do.
Which is why you need technical support partners. But Commissioner, why cannot we get from an $8 billion budget a priority? I think so. That was $105 million in ask. Business Oregon had $56 million in ask. They only had $18 million to give. Why are we not equal to the houseless crisis and the housing crisis, which is getting a lion's share of a lot of the focus in? They're getting all the megaphone airtime, right? But why wouldn't we do equal to or better than prioritization on the infrastructure of business? Why can't we come up with $105 million? Why can't we come up with $200 million out of an $8 billion budget when you know you're going to get that money back through payroll taxes and you know, these people are going to buy houses? Why wouldn't that just be the first immediate decision?
Well, I think there are two things here. I think what you're speaking to right now are grant programs that go and benefit specific small businesses. Is that the kind of lens that you're focused on?
And I would say they're grants, but I would also argue that they're investment dollars. You're investing dollars in the economic engine of the city.
Oh, well, absolutely. And I believe strategic investments like that are incredibly important. I'll also be transparent with you. You know, there are two approaches to this space. On the one hand, there's giving out grants, and on the other hand, there's giving out contracts. And I'm much more, frankly, interested in giving out contracts that allow small businesses to grow, build capacity, and make a difference on the ground. To really answer your question, typically what happens in City Hall is, you know, we have some basic services that we have to provide. We fund those, and where there are dollars left over, we often get them out in grants. You know, you're talking specifically about dollars that are kind of raised through the cannabis tax, and frankly, the cannabis tax is going down over time. I think so. That's always that's unlikely to be a stable source of reliable grant funding moving forward. On the other hand, I will tell you, if you focus in on getting small businesses involved in procurement and contracting work, you know, that's always going to be a growth business. And frankly, it gives you the opportunity to, you know, build capacity. If you work on a small street project, you know, putting in a crosswalk, you develop some capacity in that, then, you know, you can build on the next one. You know, and this is how we kind of get some of our great and growing minority contractors, the Colases of the world, who kind of start out small, build capacity. Frankly, if you tried to build a great contracting company just through grants, you know, you can get that off the ground, but to really go up to scale, you have to get involved in the business of building the city of
appreciate
tomorrow.
that. And here's a little twist in the conversation. If you're selected as a mayor, you would be the first mayor of color in Portland.
I sure would be. And
what's your thoughts about that?
you know, it is an incredible honor. I will tell you, I've had roots in Portland for my whole life. My grandfather fought in World War II. I'll tell you a story. My grandfather fought in World War II. He was kind of stationed out of the Bay Area for a lot of that, but used to come up to Portland for R&R. And if you go back to those days, he couldn't eat in restaurants in Portland. The only place that would serve him were the Chinese restaurants, which is a story that came back to me. And to go,
maybe that's why I like eating at the China.
Absolutely. We got some good restaurants close by, and to go and literally in 2 generations to go from a city that looked like that to a city where a person who looks like me is poised to be the next mayor. That's a profound thing. I'm deeply honored in the faith and trust and hope that people have invested in me. The fact that we've moved so far, I think, is also a testament to the basic goodness and decency of Portlanders. At the same time, I don't expect anybody to vote for me because of the color of my skin. I expect people to vote for me because I'm going to be the best mayor for, you know, meeting your basic needs, and that's what I aspire to be every day, is to get up. You know, I know life is short, and as a dad with kind of teenage kids, you know that they're going to inherit this world pretty soon. So what I try to do every day when I get up is to do everything I can to build a world and build a city that is going to nurture my kids the way this town nurtured me. I think my kids see me do politics enough that they probably don't have a lot of interest in becoming mayor. But I sure hope that we can get this town in shape so that they can follow their dreams. And I'm deeply grateful to Portland because Portland has provided me with the support and love and opportunities that have allowed me to really pursue my highest calling.
You know, Commissioner, the one thing I have been impressed with today is your ability to comprehend and get your hands around the governance and politics that you support and you're a part of. So I'm really impressed with that.
Thank you.
It's time, and we're hoping that you your journey toward mayor is a successful one.
Thank you.
And that you are able to employ some of those conceptual constructs in which you have in your mind. That, to me, I'm impressed that you can take on all those bureaus and be able to regurgitate the information and just do the dance, man. But be able to be respectful and dignified in how you approach this mission. So, hey, man, we do appreciate you coming on to the areas there. But as we, begin to, to phase out, is there any other pressing thing that you guys want to, now that you got the potential mayor sitting at the table, you got something, you can hold him over the fire. You got anything you want to put in?
I don't know. I think me and Fawn could talk about business for the next 5 hours here, but I don't know if that's in your schedule. So,
well, here, let me close by number one saying thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah.
Number two, we still got about 6 months left in this campaign.
Yeah.
I please encourage you to ask me back. I'd love to continue these conversations.
Oh, it would be my pleasure to have you on.
And I appreciate also especially early on, the opportunity to do some education around what our next electoral system is going to look like. I'll tell you, the work that you're doing here is incredibly important. The ballot, we didn't even talk about the fact that the ballots, not only are we changing the form of government, not only are we increasing the number of electeds in City Hall, we're also going to be changing the way we cast ballots. So this will be our first ranked choice election. Love to come back and talk to you a little bit about that. And if you ever have any questions, concerns, or just want to check in, please have me back. I will tell you at this point, we're basically out every day talking to Portlanders, hearing their concerns.
I got one question for you, Commissioner. In light of all that you've said to me and what we've heard, is that over the next 2 years, this is going to be a complicated maze of unraveling all kinds of adverse, subjective, all kinds of angles that are coming at trying to somehow shape the narrative in this situation. And I'll tell you, if you're not knowledgeable, I strongly, any of these people that are stepping into this race and that is not knowledgeable of the things and have had an opportunity to involve themselves and participate over the last several years about how this is all coming to be, will essentially be somehow lost in the early part of this and such vulnerability the city will have in the entry levels of this new government, new phases, new. So I'm with you in the sense of understanding that we need a seasoned person taking the helm on this reality in the midst of this time, and no amateurs are allowed in this sector of this deal. So I'm here to tell you, this doesn't sound as easy as it may sound.
Well, it's not going to be easy, but if we work together and listen to each other, we'll get through it and we'll build a better city.
Got you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner, for coming on the show today. And hey, listen, this is PDX Black Rose, y'all. Listen, straight from the horse's mouth. And we do appreciate our listeners.
Are you the horse?
No, I think you were. I was thinking about it, But listen, y'all, come on, hit that button down below and tune in. Flossin TV, PDX Black Rose, y'all. Listen, we appreciate y'all coming on. Subscribe, will you please? And hey, for anything more in the future,